Welcome back to my channel. I'm Veronica with nurturingconnectionshomeschool.com, where I share encouragement and resources and planning tools to help you connect with what matters most. Now today is video 4. It is the final video of my video series titled Connect with What Matters Most in Your Homeschool. And in those first 3 videos, I set the stage for what we're talking about today. So if you missed it, I encourage you to go back, check them out. We start off with the end in mind. So we start off with vision planning. We create bucket lists for every single subject area. We went through the process of putting together the big picture for the homeschool journey and then planning or mapping out a homeschool year. Now I'm taking you through the planning system that I created to help me focus on what was most important. I wanted a system that was easy to use year after year that would guide me through that process so that I wouldn't start off each day or each year stuck with what do I do next and are we working toward our goals. Now my bucket planner is available on my website for purchase. It's a PDF download that you can access immediately to get started. But if you're not able to do that just yet, that is perfectly fine. I am showing you the process. I'm showing you step by step what the system looks like. So you're more than welcome to follow along in your own notebook or your own planner, whatever works best for you. Now today we're talking about term planning, monthly planning, and weekly planning. So now we're taking that year plan that we created in video 3 and we are making it more manageable for each individual term. Now, when I'm talking about terms, that could be a 6 weeks term, a 9 weeks term. I've even done a monthly term. So basically what it is just creating checkpoints. You want to designate a chunk of time where you can check to see your progress. Are you still on the right track? Are things working? Are they not? What needs to be adjusted? And so forth. So it needs to be a little bit longer, but not so long that you can kind of veer off course and not even realize it till it's too late or you're too far in. What a term also allows you to do is to create a sense of rhythm for your homeschool. So it allows you to get into a rhythm, into a flow, to see how the curricula are working, are your resources working, how is everything functioning. What I found when I didn't give myself a good amount of time was it was easy to curriculum hop. It was easy to try something for a week or try something for a couple of weeks and say, oh, doesn't work, it's not working, let's move on and get something different. And that's not necessarily the best option all of the time. So creating a term means that you're giving things a chance to work. You're allowing things the opportunity to be tweaked a little bit here and there, to be adjusted as necessary so that you can get a good handle on what does work from that particular resource and what does need to be adjusted. So that's another purpose for the term. And then one thing I also do at the end of each term is I schedule a break. And so that really helps give us all a chance to come up for air, kind of change up our rhythms a little bit for just a couple of days or a week before we jump right back in. But it also gives me the chance to evaluate the term. What worked again? What do I need to change? And so forth. So term planning is very, very important. I encourage you to do that in whatever way or system works best for you. Now in my bucket planner, I have a one-page document with all of the 9 buckets that we discussed previously. And basically what I do is use this as a quick tool to plug in our goals for this specific term. So it could be by the end of these 6 weeks, we're going to read these books for discipleship, or we're going to do these specific lessons from lessons 1 through 30, or we're going to visit these places in these field trips, or we're going to do these particular activities. So it just gives me some checkpoints so that by the end we've worked toward that goal. Now, where did I get this information from? Remember, in video 3, we created a year plan. So in that year plan, I have everything for the entire year that we want to cover. And what we're doing is we're going back to discipleship and we're just pulling the pieces that work from that particular bucket. So for example, in my bucket planner for the year, I have all of this that I want to cover for discipleship. And so obviously that's a ton of stuff. And so I have to determine, what do I want to target first? Now, if you're using a specific curriculum, then that's easy. You'll just pull out the lessons that you want to target this particular term. So if you have 180 lessons in there, then you would just break it up that way. If you have fewer lessons, like some curricula only have 120 lessons, then you know that you only have to hit a smaller number each term to complete the curriculum by the end of the year. Now, in my case for discipleship, I just use a number of resources. I really like to prayerfully consider what I'm going to target in this area and to leave some flexibility there to not have to be on someone else's timeline. So what I do is I just dump everything in my bucket, and then at the beginning of the term, I select the areas or the resources we're going to use for that term alone. And so basically you just fill that in bit by bit by bit. And again, this is your checkpoint system that you can use at the end. Now this is one page. I've mentioned on my bucket planner that I have blank versions of everything so that you could customize it if you chose to use the system. I also have pages for like student goals, where you can flesh it out a little bit more if you choose to. So for example, with my second grader, we're using a number of different reading resources every term. And so I might plug in the specific readers I want her to read in here, or the lessons I want her to complete in one curriculum versus another, whatever it is. I have more information on that, on what we choose to read. So I'll link that below if you're interested in how we do that, because I have found with a couple of my learners that using one curriculum wasn't enough. I needed to dip in and be flexible in order to meet their goals in that area. So this helps me stay on track and keep track of everything. And then I have this particular form, which it just kind of fleshes everything out. So either you'll use this where you'll have the individual subjects and then group subjects if that's how you break down your homeschool, or you'll have it all on one page if you just have one child, or you do something completely different for each child. So a couple of different formats to make it easier for you, but the process is exactly the same. And then in the system, I just have a number of other tools that can be helpful during term planning, like unit study planning, where if you're creating a unit study on a particular topic, you could list out all your objectives here, the activities that you choose to use or field trip ideas, and then any books, pages, and so forth that you'll be using. So again, another tool to help out. This is a looping page for term loops. How this works is if each week looks a little different, and so you can't say, well, Mondays we're gonna do science and Tuesdays we're gonna do history. This allows you to just do the next thing. And so you would list, we're gonna do history, science, history, art, science, and whatever you choose. And then you just loop through. And so this page can be laminated and checked off so you know where you are in the loop at all times, but it keeps you moving forward without locking you into a specific schedule. So this is there as an option. Now, once you've established your term goals, if you're following through the bucket planner, you're going to see that the next page is a student schedule page. So it looks like this. This is also a free download on my website for all members. Membership is free, so you can go and sign up and access this if you choose. But you basically plug in what the week looks like if you choose to use a schedule, and you break it down by topic, subject, whatever you choose to do there. And then once you've done that, then you can create an agenda such as this one where you check it off and laminate it, or you can then plug everything into a month by month schedule or a weekly schedule, which I'll share with you in just a bit. You will see that at the end of all this, you'll have an end of term evaluation form like this. And it just provides that opportunity to reflect on how things are going at the end of that term. Reflection is so important. You want to take the time to really think about what is working, how are the kids doing, how do I feel about everything that's going on? Are we working toward that vision that we established at the beginning, or have we lost our way a little bit, and so forth. So here it just says, did we meet our goals? Why or why not? What worked well? What were some of our favorite memories? And do we need to make any changes? And so it's super simple. It's just a few boxes there and just a place to just kind of pause for a little bit and record those highlights and those shifts and changes that need to take place. One of the things that I would see over and over again when I would read or listen to podcasts and just listen to veteran homeschoolers, they'd always say something about keeping a homeschool journal, keeping a record of all the sweet memories and so forth. And so I wanted to work that into the system because I knew that having another notebook was not going to happen. So this pretty much reminds me at the end of every term to record our key memories, but I also have reflection pages in my monthly layout and in my weekly layouts. And so again, it's that reminder to just cultivate a heart of gratitude, focus on the positive, focus on what is working so that we don't lose sight of the good on those hard days or on those challenging days or seasons. It keeps our eyes in the right place. And of course, it keeps us pointing back to Jesus and letting him lead us every step of the way. Now, that's the term planning section. Once you've determined which way you want to go, whether it's monthly or weekly, you can open up the next document if you're using the bucket planner. So the next one I have is the monthly plan. So if you choose to use the monthly planner, at the beginning of the monthly layout is a monthly focus page. And so if you use your own system, I'd encourage you to have a page for reflection at the beginning of the month and something you come back to at the end. So on our particular planner, you'll see here it has just kind of some lines here. I usually use that for any materials I need to purchase or any specific things I want to make sure to get done that particular week. I have a box here, I don't know if you can see that, for a prayer for the month, a Bible verse that I will be meditating on throughout that month or really intentional about, and then a be intentional box right there. What is something specific that I want to be intentional about this particular month? And then I just have a blank notes page for whatever I need that's going on then. And then inside is a 2-month monthly spread. And it's just very clean. And then it just has, again, some goals if I want to list anything else there. And then at the very back is 4 boxes where it just says "so very grateful." And the intention of that is at the end of each week to fill in one of those boxes with highlights, something I'm grateful for, something that is just really special that took place in that particular month. So this is, again, that journal at the same time as a planning tool that keeps me on track and keeps me focused throughout that particular time. Now, I also have in the system a 1-page month spread. So if you're not planning on using the double page, you could have a quick reference like this. Everything is undated just because I wanted to keep it as customizable as possible. Everybody starts their homeschool at different times, and so I wanted it to be something that you could utilize whenever it worked for you. And it's something that you can also use year after year. I've been using this system for almost 5 years now, and of course been tweaking it as I've worked through the kinks there. But it's helped to have it clean and ready to go at the beginning of every year whenever I choose to start. Now, I personally don't use a monthly spread. I like the weekly version a little bit better. I use my term goals and then I jump to weekly to make it all work for me. Now, in the past, I used a 2-page spread, and the weekly focus page looks almost identical to the monthly one. And so I have my prayer there. This is an example from last year. My gratitude box, my Bible verse, be sober and gentle. I just kind of jotted down a part of that. And then be intentional, I had put speak life. I wanted the law of kindness to be on my tongue and to be joyful. And it was just that reminder of just smile, be joyful. As women, we create the ambiance for our homes. And so I wanted to be intentional about that this particular week and almost every week of this particular year, it seemed. Then there was a 2-page spread, so it kind of opens up with our lesson plans. And on the weekly spread, I just have a notes page on the back, and sometimes I use that, and some days I didn't. Other options for the week by week is to create this agenda. So I actually use this agenda form for my second grader, but because I'm doing 3 different things along with a group study, so I have an 8th grader, a 5th grader, and a 2nd grader, and then I do like to meet as a group. I have a number of systems going, and so all of that is in here so that you could also use or pick and choose the pieces that you'd like. Now, if you're using your own planner already, here's some ideas of things you might want to plug in there or shift around if it's helpful for you. For my older 2, we have a checklist system. So I have these checklists. These particular templates are actually free also on my website. I have a blue version and a pink one. I talk you through step by step how to complete this in another video, so I'll link that below if you're interested. But basically, I make the kids a notebook like this. I plug in their lessons, and then they just check it off as they go throughout the year. Now, they have a record of everything in here, but in my particular planner, I just jot down for the week, lessons 5 through 10. I just like to keep that record of what they're doing here, just because this can tend to get messy. They cross it off and they scratch all over it sometimes. And so it's hard for me to read. And I just like to keep track here so that when I get to the end of the term, I can easily check their progress and then establish the goals for the next particular term. So checklists are one way to organize things. If you have a kindergartner or a preschooler, I also have a bucket planning system for that particular level. And so I've also included that form that we use in there in here so that you can merge the 2 and continue to support them at their level. I have a 1-page bucket form that looks like this. I have a page like this. This is actually the form I'm thinking of using for my group study. So these are our group study subjects: discipleship, social studies and history, science, you'll see PE, health, creative arts, and life skills. What I plan to do is pull out my term goals, plug in fill in my buckets for that particular week. And then when we gather for group study, we meet 3 times a week. Then I can just pick and choose on that particular day what we want to target and just check them off, making sure that we get through everything by the end of the week. This works better for me. I like to follow where my kids are on that particular day. For having a great conversation and we're going in one direction, I don't always want to stop that and say, oh, now we have to do this because it's Monday. I want to be able to have that flexibility, but again, still work toward our goals. So I like this form. I really think this is what I'll be using this year. I have something very similar for the academic areas for each student. So it's another form that I'm not going to use this year, but it's available. I have a blank form. And then I do have one that's broken down by days. So if you're one of those that wants to know exactly what you're gonna do on Monday, exactly what you're gonna do on Tuesday, then this could also be a form that you might find helpful, or a breakdown, a layout that you may find helpful to create for yourself. Now, the last thing I have as a part of the planning system is this form that says Nurturing Connections Time. And it's usually what people refer to as the morning basket or morning time. For me, my heart behind Nurturing Connections Homeschool was nurturing those connections with God, family, and learning. And so that's what I plugged up here, connecting with God. I put praise in this box. What are the songs of praise that we're going to focus on this week, or the hymns? And this could also be per month if you choose to use it that way. Here are the readings. What books in the Bible are we going to be reading through? What scriptures specifically are we going to memorize? That goes in there. Connecting with family, these are read alouds, books we're going to read together and share, and so we can check it off as we go through. Poetry, I did put memory work in here. We've done memory work since the kids were little bitty, and that has been so good in helping them memorize the books of the Bible and skip counting, and we also memorize hymns together and so forth. And then here I put connecting with learning. And so this could be other areas such as studying composers or artists or anything else. I know Charlotte Mason really focuses on those areas. Some people use morning time as a time to also explore nature and so forth. So I left this a blank area to to just cultivate that inspiration in that particular area. So I plug that in there as well. I've used this form from time to time. Now I'm just using my buckets exclusively, but I just wanted to provide a number of resources, layouts, anything that would help inspire you and your family to connect with what matters most. Getting to that place of connection with our children takes intentionality. We are living in a world filled with distraction, in a world that is constantly vying for our attention. But it's not just pulling for our attention, it's also tugging away at our children's attention. And so we have to take the time that we do have with them very, very seriously. Let it be a time of joy, a time of laughter, a time of learning, a time of overcoming struggles, a time of prayer, a time that you target the things that you are saying is important to your family. And so I encourage you to do that, whatever system you use. I hope that if you do choose to use my bucket planner, that it is a blessing unto you. If you're using your own system, then I hope that you can pull out some golden nuggets from what I've shared and use it to help you cultivate that in your homeschools as well. If you have any questions, please drop them down below. I'd love to hear from you. You can find out more about the bucket planner on my website. Over there, you can see a whole breakdown of it, and then you can find it in my shop if you do choose to purchase. But thanks so much for watching. I pray this is an encouragement to you. Please give me a thumbs up before you leave, and I'll see you next time.